Hey guys, this is the second part of the Democracy 3 playthrough. I wanted the first video to just introduce you to what you need to do in order to not lose on the hardest difficulty of Democracy 3, because that's a challenge in and of itself, and there's really only one path to not losing on the hardest difficulty, because you start out with such a huge budget deficit that you will lose if you don't immediately raise taxes and cut expenses. But once you've raised taxes to a ridiculous rate and cut expenditures to a ridiculously low rate, then you can do basically whatever you want. It becomes the game that everybody imagined Democracy 3 would be. It becomes a matter of appeasing various people, trying to get reelected, trying to do the best for your citizenry, most importantly trying to raise your GDP so that you can raise your income, so that you can do more socialist type things like provide a better education, which in the extremely long term, like 20 turns down the road, which is actually like after your game will end, it will dramatically increase the GDP of your nation and stuff. So that's where we're going to pick up. We started the game with a $500 billion deficit, and now we have a $500 billion surplus. So because this is the beginning of the era of actually doing cool things, let's take a look at our ministry. So we only have 2 crappy ministers, but to replace each actually costs only 2. So we could replace just these 2 guys for $4, or we could replace everyone for $10. I'm just going to replace these 2 guys. All right. So we need a new public services guy. So you want somebody who says public services under their desired jobs. And this lady is extremely good. 4.9 political capital per turn. Just as a guideline, anything above 3 is really good. You should feel lucky to find someone with above 3. So someone who's actually 5, I think 5 is the maximum. This is like the best minister I've ever found for anything ever. All right, so we're going to go for a law and order minister. And the best here is 4.7. Holy cow. But he's not. He doesn't want to work for law and order. This guy's 4.5 and he does want to work for law and order, so we'll pick him. I don't understand what makes people want certain jobs and what impact that has. But obviously, if you're doing a job you don't want, then you're going to get sick of it pretty quick. What the heck? When I fired those 2 people, everybody else got mad at me. I didn't realize that would happen. Watch, let's fire this guy just to see what happens. When we fire him, everyone else gets mad. That's why people reshuffle the entire cabinet instead of just firing one guy. Well, I feel like an idiot now. Look, I'm only going to get 15 per turn next time. That sucks. I wish I'd known that before I did it. Anyway, let's hire some ministers. Go for it, Mr. Economnomini. Foreign policy dude. And a welfare human. So ministers impact the effectiveness of your policy, the quickness with which your policies actually get introduced, and the amount of political capital you get each turn, so which allows you to actually enact various policies. So ministers are quite important, and I'd say the interface for ministers is a little bit stupid, because there's a very simple algorithm that you need to follow to get the best ministers. Find the guy with the best political capital, and then see if he wants this job, and then hire him. I mean, you can look at things like his sympathies and say, well, I'm planning to piss off the motorists in the next couple of turns, so I probably shouldn't bother hiring a minister who's loyal to them. But you can always just hire a new one. Anyway, let's find that guy for transport instead. No, we'll hire him for transport anyway. And law and order minister. So I think the whole idea of making me scan with my eyes through a list that is too big to fit on one page and pick things, I don't like it. I don't like the minister interface. I think that if you could sort by different columns, then it would be much better. But that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. You only have to change your ministers once every hour of playing the game, so it's no big deal. All right, so I spent way too much. I spent about 20 political capital doing something that should have cost 10 because I didn't understand how the game works. And now we'll go to the next turn. Tax evasion develops this when your taxes get over a certain point, then people start to evade them. And I haven't found a way to avoid this. I mean, if you want to not go bankrupt, you'd have to just hover just below the triggering point of tax evasion, and you'd have to know ahead of time what that was and whatever, and I'm not that kind of guy. Okay, so we've got the first people that actually want to kill us. These guys want to kill us because Big Brother is watching them. These guys want to kill us because Jesus Christ told them to. And these guys want to kill us because they're from another country, and we don't treat other countries well enough. So let's handle the other country complaint first. Border controls. If we reduce the border controls, there's no downside to just checking people's passports, right? It increases immigration, which isn't actually a bad thing, because immigration increases your number of skilled workers. It stops pissing off ethnic minorities so much, and it increases tourism, and it makes liberals happier, and it makes patriots sad. And making patriots happy has never been my goal. So we're going to do that. It's going to cost 13. And then we're going to go for very similar thing, Citizenship Test, if we can find it right here. So in order to come into my country, you have to speak English. Speak the English. And that's because this reduces racial tension. If everybody who comes to America to live speaks English, then there will be a lot less discrimination against them because they can actually talk to you. It also increases immigration, which is good. Which is weird, honestly. No, it decreases immigration, which is no big deal because I just increased it with the other slider, so that's not a big deal. It makes liberals a little bit sad, but only a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. And it makes ethnic minorities a tiny bit. But it reduces racial tension by a huge amount, so I don't mind the fact that it's upsetting ethnic minorities, because racial tension itself actually upsets ethnic minorities more than things that upset ethnic minorities. So, next, in order to make the exact same group happy for a third time, we're going to look at our immigration policy. No, I don't think there's anything else that we need to do to make them happy. I think those two things together will make them stop trying to assassinate me. I would prefer if nobody tried to assassinate me, honestly. So who else is trying to assassinate me? It looks like liberals. It's really hard to please liberals because they don't want me to fight crime, and I'm big on fighting crime. It seems really good to fight crime in general. One thing you can do to make liberals happy in a way that also just helps in general is to fund prisons really well. Liberals really like it when, if they've been arrested, they get to go to a prison instead of being released. They're all about that. This also fights crime a little bit, and it costs some money and whatever. So we'll totally fund our prisons. And then prisoner tagging upsets liberals a lot. It's part of why they want to shoot me in the face. And private prison. No, we want federally funded state prisons. There we go. State prisons should be funded really well as well. This also fights crime and also makes liberals happy. It actually makes everyone happy. There's no reason not to do it except for the money. It costs $20 billion, so you know, it's only $10 billion more than we were already spending, and we made ourselves a $300 billion surplus, so we can cut into it a little bit in order to not get assassinated. So we spent the first couple turns of the game earning the money that we're going to need to not die in the later portions of the game, right? Ban public smoking or leave the law unchanged. I think liberals want us not to ban anything, and I think capitalists want us not to ban anything. But in general, I don't like smoking. Because I don't smoke. I know, it's ridiculous. Alright, so we're going to make 29 more capital next turn, and we can actually save all of it. So we could just end turn right here, and we'd get 50, 60. Yeah, we would only lose 2 political capital if we just end turn. So we don't really need to spend any political capital, and I don't really want to, because we're just barely paying down the budget as is. I need more money, not less. And every time I look around for a way to spend my political capital, I end up spending money. I don't want to spend money. That's not good. So let's increase corporate taxes until they begin to impact GDP. Oh, they would impact GDP right away, so we can't increase them at all. And we'll try property tax until it impacts GDP. It never impacts GDP. Well, good. We'll just increase it all over the place then. It impacts old people, which we've already thrown under the bus because screw old people. It impacts middle income people, which we've also thrown under the bus. And it upsets capitalists. I don't like upsetting capitalists, but I do like receiving 70 billion additional dollars. That's one of the things I like most. So let's get $70 billion. Why not? And then let's tax smoking. This costs way too much to tax smoking. Corporate taxes we already looked at. And capital gains taxes we already raised. Automobiles tax, that's what we want to do. So we'll raise that next turn. It costs 18, so we'll go to the next turn. And we got a superhero. He's going to come fight crime and violent crime in our city. That's awesome. I'm happy about superheroes. And the security briefing tells us that these groups still want to kill us, but their membership is not increasing on a turn-by-turn basis, so we can leave it be. We don't need to fight their hatred of us any more than we already have. Capitalists, we'd really like to make them like us a little bit more, and trade unionists as well. I tend to enact robot reforms. Let me show you. Oh my goodness. All right. Anything that says grant in the title will make capitalists like you, and it will improve your economy. So I tend to do anything that says grant. So robotic grants, for example, estimated nobody wants robotic grants. A special grant to encourage research in robotics. Robotics is a very long-term area of research which will eventually bring about vast boosts in productivity, but at the same time it will reduce the amount of low or semi-skilled jobs in your economy, and thus you shouldn't do it until you've increased your education dramatically, right? It'll create a skill gap where you have too many unskilled workers and not enough unskilled jobs. Ban Sunday shopping, my butt. Clean energy subsidies. Anything that's a grant or a subsidy is typically a good idea. University grants, for example. But that's very long term. I think we want to stay with short term. One thing we really want to do is start paying people not to work. Because we're going to have a lot of people not working because our GDP is going to go down because we raised our taxes. So while they're not working, we would like to pay them not to work. Skills shortage is fought by education. Education is fought with money. We don't have any money, so we can't fight it that way. I don't know what to do, man. Let's keep raising taxes. I like raising taxes. So property tax, I think we already raised this. Yeah, we already raised this. Go away. Inheritance tax, bad for old people, good for equality, bad for rich people. This looks very linear, doesn't it? Doesn't seem like there's any reason not to just raise this to the maximum. The progression of its coolness. I think we can fight crime in better ways, but we don't have the influence. We only have 14 influence left. So let's stop tagging our prisoners. Because it makes liberals sad. How's our crime doing? We've got very little crime. I think I want to stop tagging my prisoners and then instead get community outreach people to fight crime with love. Like throw love at it until you've solved all the crimes. I'm gonna love all my crimes away. I love you, crimes. There's an urgent policy question about fracking. Should we allow fracking or ban fracking? Capitalists want me to allow everything, whereas environmentalists and health people, which is the entire economy, want me to not allow it. And because we care more about capitalists than the environment or the health of our citizens, we will allow fracking. Nobody is angry enough to kill us. This is great. We're doing a good job, man. We're making lots of money. No one's trying to kill us. Let's try to get even more money out of our economy, right? We can allow gambling, I think. Welfare. Where's gambling? Gambling. Oh, racial profiling. That's not good. I would really like to legalize prostitution, but I don't think that's the right step at this time. All right. So, all gambling is allowed. This upsets religious people. And you don't want to upset religious people until you reduce the numbers, because America is very religious to begin with, but the number of religious people will constantly go down because of the abortion law. No, not the abortion law. What is it? The membership is going down because of technology grants in the space program. So like over time, the more you fund technology, the less religious people you'll have in your country. And then eventually, once there's almost none of them, you can start pissing them off willy-nilly and nobody even cares. So I probably shouldn't have done that now, but I already did. So whatever. Looks good. Okay, freedom of information. I will always accept freedom of anything because I like freedom, and liberals will shoot me in the face if I don't like freedom. You should like freedom with me, baby. Let's like freedom together. It looks like we're getting increases in liberals, Christians, ethnic minorities, and the workforce, the trade unionists. So how can we make... Ethnic minorities are the easiest one to fight because they are easily appeased. All you gotta do is pay other countries money. And that helps you in lots of other ways too, so let's do that. Foreign relations. Well, let's just click this and then click this. Foreign aid. So we want to maximize foreign aid because it makes ethnic minorities like us. It makes foreigners like us, which... Yes. Wait, how do we do that? Foreign relations. Which reduces racial tension and increases patriotism and reduces immigration, which is no big deal, and reduces international trade. That's weird. And increases tourism. Why would it reduce international trade for other countries to like me? That seems wrong. Oh, it's because we have... No. International trade is generally good for an economy due to the law of comparative advantage, effectively helping each country to produce what it is best at. Trade can be restricted by political problems with other countries where arguments can lead to import tariffs and sanctions. In some cases, countries also indulge in protectionism to defend politically sensitive industries against foreign competition. I don't see... how our foreign relations are having a negative impact on trade. But whatever. Alright, so in general, over time, once I've reduced the debt, which I haven't done yet, so let's focus on reducing the debt first. Any taxes we can implement? School tax. See, some of these are not taxes, these are tax breaks. So an airline tax actually generates money. It's a real tax. It's not a very popular one. Taxing people who graduate from college. Imagine getting $50 billion back by taxing people when they graduate college. That's just so weird. Married tax allowance. This is, you give $80 billion to people for getting married, just to encourage marriage. That makes conservatives like you, because the word conservative means family values in this game. Ooh. Microgeneration grants. Anything named grant is good. Reduces CO2 emissions, increases the environment, increases the number of people who care about the environment, increases energy efficiency, and environmentalists become happy. So this is just a touchy-feely thing. You spend money to make your environment better. Basically, you're paying people to put solar panels on their roof, which I think is fine. We can pay people to put solar panels on their roofs. Alright, we're down to 19 left. Trade unionists, they want us to enact laws that say don't let them kill me, right? Where's the don't let them kill me thing? There you go. Worker safety. Don't let people kill trade unionists. That will make them happy. Because they're trying to kill me, right? So let's make sure that other people don't kill them, and then they won't kill me. See these threat? That means that if those get too high, you lose the game. So keep an eye on those, because I don't like losing the game. It's not a good plan. All right. Sales tax. Did we already raise sales tax? No. Alright, it increases tax evasion, which is no big deal. It decreases the amount of money the people in our country will earn. It increases inequality, and it upsets capitalists, reduces the happiness of self-employed, and increases poverty. So it's bad in basically every way. Sales tax in real life is like this. Basically, the reason that the United States gets most of its money from income tax instead of other kinds of taxes is because income taxes are progressive, so the more money you make past a certain point that you need to live, the more percentage of it gets spent on funding the government. Whereas with a sales tax, it's straight up. You know, everyone spends 7% on everything they buy. So that's better the richer you are. Right? Okay. So I don't generally like sales tax, but I do want money. Let's see. We can get like $60 billion, and it only upsets capitalists by 3%. That's fine. That's fine. Let's go all the way up and see what happens. This only upsets capitalists by 8%. Well, if this is 3 and that's 8, then I think 3 is better. Oh, insufficient capital. We need 26. We've only got 15. So we'll do that now. Sweatshop scandal makes liberals mad, which is scary because sometimes liberals shoot you in the face. Let's check. It looks like we're doing a good job of making the capitalists happy. Everyone else is staying just as mad at us now as they were before. Human rights especially is angry with us. Human rights society, 1, 2, 3, 4, the Moral Crusade. That's gotta be, I don't know what that is. What's human rights? That's not liberalism. I don't know, man. That's weird. Why is human rights mad at me? Oh well. Who's in that group, and how do you find out who's in that group? So poverty has gone up 10% since we took office, and poor earnings, the poor earn 10% less than when we took office. The GDP has gone down by 8%. High wealth incomes have dropped by 21%. Middle income has dropped by 13%. We're basically killing the economy in order to kill the deficit. But that's what we like to do, right? We like to kill the economy. So this is why deficit spending is so popular, is because you have to hurt the economy in order to pay off your debts. So why not just keep building more and more debts forever? So this brings it up to double. I like that. Let's do it. Let's raise some more money. Good times. Organized crime. Oh my. Oh, organized crime because of gambling. I see, I see. So another thing you can do is paying your policemen, because everyone basically benefits from that. There's just no reason not to pay your policemen. Not arming your policemen so much as just paying them money contributes drastically to organized crime. I wonder if we can introduce a gambling tax. Tax on gambling. Nope. Apparently we can't. Mortgage tax relief. Interesting. I've never seen that before. Enterprise investment scheme. I think I like that. It's only $30 billion, and it gets people to come and it pays rich people to give poor people money. Like, you know that show Shark Tank, which I was totally addicted to until I watched every episode? It's like that. It incentivizes that, where you have so much money that you can use your money to create more money instead of using your money to buy things or whatever. Instead of working to create money, you just pay other hardworking people. All right, I want to pay. I want to give the cops more money, but I can't find them. I can't find the cops. We'll just click on crime, and then police force. There we go. Give the cops money. Always give the cops money. Because why wouldn't you want cops to have money? It just doesn't make any sense. All right, so we funded the police. We should have increased our income a little bit more. And our GDP should be steadily dropping, although it's not dropping as fast as it usually does. Our income should be going down over time. This is this green number. So when we first increased taxes, we got it all the way up to here. And then it's slowly falling because the short-term effect of raising taxes is you get a bunch of money, but the long-term effect is that your whole country starts to suck, right? So this blue number, the debt, we're trying to kill that. And then we can drop taxes back down, and we'll just be in a great, great position to win the game. Win the game. All right. The wealthy. They don't like the inheritance tax, but I don't like them, so it all works out, right? Let's look at some more welfare things. Everybody likes child benefits, paying people to have babies, right? So we could do that. State housing is pretty popular. Economically. Consumer rights in general just seems like a good idea. Don't let companies kill you. Liberalism. That's good. Actually fights GDP. Okay, it doesn't fight GDP at this point, but if you go higher, then it does. It impacts the self-employed who would normally take advantage of people. And impacts capitalism, but it makes liberals very happy. All right. So we should be getting close to the election. When is the election? The election is getting closer. We currently have a total of blah, blah, blah votes. You know what? We might win, we might lose. Who knows? So let's start paying people to stay home. Poverty, unemployment benefits. We want to fund the unemployed. There we go. Let's fight poverty by paying people to be poor. Introduce a law. Minimum wage. Yes, I'm all about minimum wage. That also helps us fight poverty because you can see poverty and unemployment are two of our main issues. I mean, health and education are big issues, but they're long-term issues. You have to get reelected before you can fight those. So our goal right now is to get reelected. So we want to make poor people really like us, and then we want to make a lot of poor people, because by raising taxes so much, we're making a lot of people poor. So now we just need poor people to like us. So let's fight homelessness, because that'll make poor people like us more, right? To fight homelessness, we should introduce state housing. Boom. All right. This will upset capitalists, but not by very much. And it will be awesome, but it'll also be extremely expensive. So let's try to save as much money as we can. We'll spend $100 on it. $100 billion, I should say. And then we'll also introduce rent controls, which is the same thing as is state housing or whatever, but it upsets capitalists to a much greater degree and helps the problem to a much lesser degree and costs much less money. It's like the poor man's version of state housing, right? I think state housing is a better option, but I'm going to do both because I'm weird. So, you know, I might actually cancel that in the future. Look at this. We're not going to be killed by anyone. Only capitalists are now trying to kill us, and we just upset them twice by those housing reforms. So we might have to just spend 2 turns in a row first enacting something and then taking it back and be like, I take it all back. But our goal to win the election is to make poor people love us. So that's why I enacted that. Maybe after the election I'll pull that policy back. So we've got a very small surplus at this point because we just dumped a bunch of money into trying to win the election. So now we can get more money by taxing everyone. No, we need votes at this point. We need votes. So let's do cheap things that will make people vote for us. Good old cheap things people like. So this is ridiculously cheap and not very popular. Let's look for something with green popularity that costs almost nothing. There we go, free eye tests. That's good. This upsets capitalists, upsets the wealthy, makes poor people earn more money, which makes poor people happy, I would assume. It has a good impact on health and socialism. This doesn't really... Oh, it has very popular with the voters. Whatever, we just want people to vote for us. Yeah, I'll give them free eye care if it makes them vote for us. And this is popular with the voters, although it doesn't do anything, really. Right? You basically pay people to have kids, and it costs a ton of money. $70 billion. Just to, you know, give people kids. It makes no sense. But that's okay. They actually do that in America, and I actually make a significant amount of money by having my kids. It's pretty cool. $1,000 a kid times 4 kids, $4,000 a year. It's not actually that significant an amount of money, but you know, whatever. Legalize euthanasia. Leave the law unchanged. It is incredibly cruel to keep people living in a permanent pain when there's no hope to recover. Why not just smother them with a pillow? I'm with you. Let's smother some people with pillows. I suspect that upsets the religious. Yeah, they're upset by that. Actually, they're very upset by that. They're going to start to hate me now. I got to do something happy religious. Some religious happiness. Maybe there's like a... I want to do this because it's cheap and people like it, but it's not popular with the voters and I can't afford it anyway. Clean energy subsidies. Anything that says subsidies is usually good. This makes environmentalists happy. It makes the environment happy. It makes energy efficiency. This is not good for the upcoming election. It's just good in the long term, and we don't care about the long term right now, so that was probably a mistake. Come on, election. Let's do it. Let's win the election. All right. I got to boot one of my administrator-y dudes. DNA database. Allow. The election is drawing very near. Who wants to kill me? It looks like capitalists still want to kill me. How can we make capitalists happy? Capitalism. Toll roads. Toll roads make them very happy, but I think I can't afford it. Okay, we'll do that next turn. Alright, so reshuffle the cabinet. I apparently pissed off all of my ministers at once. That was really bad. So that'll be it for this episode. Oops. D is for democracy, guys. I'll be back in just a little while, and we'll see who wins the election. And if I win the election, that means the game isn't over yet. Yay!